This show is being sponsored by the National Cooperative Bank, NCB. NCB is dedicated to strengthening communities nationwide through the delivery of banking and financial services for the nation's cooperatives, their members, and other socially responsible organizations. More information on the power of community ownership in action can be found at ncb.coop. That's ncb.coop. And now stay tuned for your host, Vernon Oakes.
Good morning, everyone. This is Vernon Oakes coming to you this morning to talk about cooperatives. I'm a little out of breath because I just got into the studio. I have a guest, and he'll be right with us. His name is Pape Sene, and he's from Senegal. He received the highest award that someone that works in the cooperative world gets. He's been an honoree of the Co-op Hall of Fame. He just won that and was recognized last night at the dinner, and he is a phenomenal gentleman. The Cooperative Bank is bringing you this program with WOL. WOL, motto is information is power. So information is power, but what gives you the power is the use of information. When you have information and that information is used, what we end up having is, and this is what Pape Sene is going to talk to us about, in the cooperative world, co-ops gives people the tools to control their destiny. And if you combine that with NCB's mission of helping people in low-income communities, so it ends up you help people in low-income communities to get the tools that they need to control their destiny. And I find that awesome, and that's why I've come to love co-ops. And we want to welcome Pape Sene into the studio today. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Can you tell us a little bit about your background?
I'm from Senegal. I'm from what we call the Punit Basin. It's mainly in a region where people do a lot of agriculture, and with a lot of small villages. I'm from a very small community, and that I think because of that, everybody just cooperate. It's a natural way of life. And even in big cities, when people move in cities, they try to find, places where they can find people coming from their villages, so that the tradition of cooperation keep going on. Even people are in the towns, which is different from the little villages. People keep the tradition of cooperation, so they work together, cooperate, and support each other.
So when you say small, how small? How many people live in your village?
Well, we have 252 people in my village.
252.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So you got this award last night, and I just told people you were honored as Hall of Fame, the NCBA National Co-op Business Association, CLUSA. You've been working with them for some time, and you got the Hall of Fame for your work that you do. So how do you come from a village of 252 people to do worldwide work, mission work, helping people control their destiny?
Yeah, it's because I love cooperation, mm-hmm. And the more you cooperate with people, the more you know about people. And the more you expand yourself, your knowledge and your horizon to other people and other continent. I started with a small village, with the spirit of cooperation, right? Mm-hmm. When I moved in Dakar, which is the capital city of Senegal, I live in a suburb area. And because of the issue that we're facing, that, living in a big town, so we start a small cooperative, like a housing cooperative. Right, okay. Which later on add a section of transport, like helping people to commute to downtown.
Hold 1 second. I just want to make sure I get this. So you leave the 252 people village.
Yes.
You go to Dakar, which is the capital of Senegal.
Exactly.
And then you move to the suburbs.
Exactly.
and you created or helped to create a housing co-op, because I guess there was
that's the housing co-op.
The reason I wanted to come back to this, because what I've told people in this program is co-ops are normally formed to solve some community need.
Absolutely.
So you're in the suburbs and there's need for housing.
Exactly.
So you create a co-op to provide the housing.
Exactly. It's a tool. Whatever, if there is a need, there is a possibility that you have a cooperative to solve that problem. It's a need-based approach. It's a need-based tool, right?
Okay.
Whatever the need is, and I'm going to tell you, we start with the housing issue.
Okay.
We start with the housing issue, and then we get the transportation issue, right? And later on we have the education issue, right?
Okay. We're going to come back. You got the housing issue. You're in the suburbs, and you got the housing. You solve that. Then you have a communication issue. Then you have
transport issue.
Education.
Yes, and education. And
we're going to come back to that, but we're going to take a quick break. We'll step back. If anybody out there would like to join this conversation, please call in at 1-800-450-7876. 1-800-450-7876. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back with Papa Sene.
News updates on the web at WOLDCnews.com.
Information is power. That's why WOL is helping to sponsor this program, because we have an opportunity to give you some information to give you the power to control your own destiny. If you can use the information that we provide here on this program every Thursday morning, you can help to create co-ops to solve community needs. And Papa Sene from Senegal is our guest today. He just won the great honor of being in the Hall of Fame, the Cooperative Hall of Fame, which was bestowed upon him last evening. And he was talking about moving from his tribe, 252 people, into the city of Dakar, and then into the suburbs. In the suburbs, they had the need for housing, which he helped solve by creating a cooperative, a housing co-op. So would you continue to talk? There were some other needs that were there. Yeah,
there's some other needs, because when you're in a suburb, of course, you face the issue of, commuting to town to do work or shopping or whatever. Mm-hmm. And that's when we felt the need, and it was becoming increasingly difficult for people to solve it by themselves. Then we took it as a cooperative. We said, okay, we have solved very, very successfully the housing problem, but now we have to deal with this one. And we did it. We put money together. We bought a minibus first, right? And we use it to transport our people to town, but also to make money.
Okay.
Right? To make money. So the more we generate money, and we bought a bigger bus. That was to take the kids to school, take ourselves as workers to go to our job, and in between, do just regular transport and make money. So it was very, very, very successful. So the point here is that whatever the need is, if you have informed people, and that's where you can
inform people. Okay.
Right? That's the key thing. If you don't have the information, you can't turn it into power. You have to have it first, and you put energy into that information, and it take a form of action. Okay. And that's where the power is coming from.
Information is power, but that's information you take action on. And Denise is on the line with a question. Denise, what's your question? And good morning.
Good morning. My question centers on the housing situation, not only in Senegal, but also in other parts of West Africa. And since you are discussing the cooperative concept, I'm wondering if there has been any movement to have cooperatives built in certain parts of Africa and to train the young people so that they can become involved in the construction industry.
Excellent question, Denise.
Yeah, that's a great question. Yes, there is not much experience, but there is places where, like in Kenya, you have some places where people have been getting together to solve housing issues. But the future, for housing is really, really with the young people, but in big cities.
Okay.
In big cities, like the student.
Mm-hmm.
The student. There is a always a great need for students to find a place where they can live while they are doing their studies.
Right.
And housing cooperative is a great mean to solve that problem. So I deeply believe, like I spent 15 years in Ghana. There are hostels that were built by private people, but that could be cooperative for students to solve the problem of housing.
Yeah, we had on the program some time ago Mr. Jim Jones.
Jim Jones?
Jim Jones.
Yes.
And he's with NASCO, which is the National Association of Student Housing. And that's housing where different students own the co-op housing on university campus or close by university campuses. And we talked about ways of doing that, and that would be a great thing to do in any part of the country, any part of the world for that matter. So, Denise, thank you very much for your question.
You are so welcome. Have a good day.
Same to you, too. So we're talking about, and I like the way you frame it, that cooperative is a need-based. It's a tool to solve any need in the community, which we have said, but I really like the way you put it. And what I've found is, and as we've had people on this program, that the co-op ends up providing products or services. So first off, a definition of co-ops. It's a business. It's any form of a business.
Absolutely.
And what I say, a little bit different from what Papa Sene just said, is that any business you think of can be a co-op.
Yep.
He says it has a possibility to be in a co-op. I just believe if there's a business out there, it can be owned by either the employees, which is called a worker co-op, or it could be owned by the people that use the product or services, which is called a consumer co-op. Now, there are other takes off that. We had somebody on the program a couple weeks ago talking about purchasing co-op, which is a whole nother piece. But most of them are either going to be a worker co-op or a consumer co-op. So any need-based, any need that the community has. So here we have Papa Sene moving to the city from the country. Got a country boy going to the city, moves to the suburbs, and they don't have housing, so they form a group, and they created this housing. So a lady by the name of Harriet May, who was also in the Hall of Fame last evening from El Paso, Texas, said that the credit union, which credit unions are co-ops, 11 men came together in 1932 or thereabouts and put up $5 each, $55 to start this financial institution to help people buy food. That was the need in 32. So now that's a $2 billion financial institution helping people both in Mexico and in Texas, in those surrounding communities, buy housing, buy computers, buy cars, or whatever they need to do. So people pooling their resources is what credit unions. So here you are in Senegal, you got housing, you buy a bus and a bigger bus to get transportation. So tell us about the education needs. You said that was the other need.
The education is the population was, increasingly, growing in our community. A lot of kids were going to school, thanks to the transportation that we have, but it was still far, and we didn't have a lot of buses, and we don't even want to get all the kids getting out of the community. So what we did is again and again put money together. Right? Okay. It's a business base, right? And the magic of that is that you start small and you grow. You talk about $55 that become a $2 billion. Exactly. That's exactly what we did. You start with small thing, but when you get a lot of people buying it become big. It grows. So we, again, because we had the experience with the housing, we negotiated, bought a piece of land, and put money together, build a school.
You built a school.
Right?
Okay.
Build a school. And then government, application, and then advocacy. That's another side of cooperative, like putting people together, advocating for things that they need the government do because they pay tax and all that. So they absolutely get to the government, and start talking about, get, and we got the stuff that we needed.
Wait. Got to back up here a minute for me to make sure that we all get this, including me. So here you are, you need education, you're shipping people out through your transportation, you're shipping them out to different schools, the population is growing, and you find that there's a need to have your own school.
Absolutely.
So you buy a piece of land, put money in, and then you build a school.
Absolutely.
And what you have to also do is advocate to the government to help them because you're paying taxes.
We're paying tax, and we're always saying, hey, look, because for us, paying tax is just like buying a service in anticipation.
Buying service in
Absolutely,
anticipation.
that's what it is. When you pay tax, you're just buying a service, right? You say, hey, we paid the money. Can we get the service now?
Yes.
And what we're saying is, like, okay, you were supposed to build a school. We did it because we feel that that's something. Because what we said, our keyword was education is too important to leave it in the hand of the government.
Okay, you showed that to the government too?
Yeah, we should get involved in that. So we did partly say, hey, you should maybe do something for us. So they brought the teachers. And that's how we work as a cooperative. That's like, we are not asking the government to do everything for us, but whatever we can do for ourselves, we do it. And that's what we call the subsidiary principle, which is like you do for yourself whatever you can do for yourself. But don't let anybody try to do for you what you can do by yourself.
You're talking about some of the principles of the cooperative, and one of them is voluntary and open membership. So anybody in your community can be part of the co-op.
Absolutely. And the nice thing there is that you get different type of people being part of the cooperative. Very low income people to, middle class people. We have some, teachers and all that. But you have also people who just have, temporary jobs and all that. But because of the level of the money that you have to put in the cooperative, everybody could do it. The second thing is you get people coming from different areas from Senegal. People coming from the north, people coming from the south, people from Dakar itself. And all these people, that's the cooperative. Diverse people, diverse level of income, but same interest solving one issue that is important to us.
Same issue, diverse people, diverse education, diverse economic backgrounds.
Absolutely.
Totally
but same issue.
Same issue.
Same need.
Okay.
Same problem.
So you come together to solve a problem.
Absolutely.
Create a business, solves the problem, normally as good as, if not better than, either the government or other businesses.
Absolutely.
Producing a product or service that's as good, if not better.
Exactly.
And I would find it normally at a competitive, if not lower price.
Yeah, because it's competitive because, this is very interesting because we are the entrepreneurs, but we are also the customers of the business.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
That like we are producing and selling to ourselves.
Producing and selling to self.
Absolutely.
Yes.
We buy our own product, right? When we build a school, we send our kids there. We benefit from the service.
Yep.
So we do our best to maintain a good quality service, but we also make it competitive in such a way that people among ourselves, everybody can access the service. So we keep the balance there. We're not trying to get plenty money. We're trying to have quality service at an affordable price.
Quality service at a competitive price.
Absolutely.
There's some research here about housing co-ops that suggests that prices are lower, particularly over time. There's a co-op, affordable housing co-op in Atlanta that a study was done in 2010, and it said that the pricing for a 2-bedroom in this particular co-op called Wildwood was like $500 a month, but down the road, an apartment building, same kind of a unit, same product, it was $700 to $800. So it was anywhere from $200 to $300 more, and this was over 40 years. They had paid off their mortgage. So they're spending $500 a month versus going down the road and spending $800 a month for the same thing. And the reason was 2 reasons. One was that they were not trying to make profit.
Absolutely.
Similar to what you were just saying.
Yep.
So that 10, 18, 20% that somebody's trying to get piled on every month, every year, and increases wasn't there. And secondly, that people, once they understood they owned the building, once they understood they owned the business, they took better care.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And by taking better care, there was lower maintenance issues.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you get it both ways. Better care, better product, everybody live better together.
And sustainable business.
Sustainable.
Yeah.
40 years.
Absolutely. Because you need it. And you just, stick to it and, make it the best service that you can have. Because you own it. Keep that in mind. You own it. You own the business.
And like Denise, if you have a question, please call in at 1-800-450-7876. We have to step away a minute, and we'll be right back with Papa Sene from Senegal talking about cooperatives and what makes them powerful. What about them gives you the power? We'll be right back.
News updates on the web at WOLDCnews.com.
Welcome back. This is Vernon Oaks talking to you about cooperatives, what makes them a wonderful, wonderful business for low-income communities, African-American communities, Native American communities, any community that is low-income in the U.S. or anywhere around the world. Getting to understand this cooperative business model is phenomenal and can help you to have the power to control your destiny, help you to have power to control your community. And the U.S. economy at large really needs this cooperative model. The National Cooperative Bank is sponsoring this program because NCB's mission is to help cooperatives grow by supporting and being an advocate for America's cooperatives and their members, placing special emphasis on serving the needs of communities that are economically challenged. And we do know of communities that are economically challenged, Southeast Washington, D.C., parts of Northeast D.C. You look at the South. And right now we're talking to Pape Sene from Senegal, who's talking about some of the co-ops that they have developed there. And we're going to get to talk to him about the work that he's done outside of Senegal in a few minutes. But the values of cooperatives are based on the values of self-help, which Pape Sene has already talked about. Not only self-help, but self-responsibility, democracy, equality, equity, and solidarity. And in the tradition of the founders of the cooperatives, at least the modern cooperative movement, cooperative members believe in the ethical values of honesty, openness, social responsibility, and caring for one another. So I don't know how anybody could not like cooperatives and want to be a part of them, particularly in the African-American communities that I've lived in and grew up in Bluefield, West Virginia, and other places I've had an opportunity to live in. And I found out that once I've learned about cooperatives, Pape Sene, I find that me having an African background, an African heritage, it was hard for me to live in the European world of more like it's me and it's about me and it's all about me. But John Wayne is one of the actors, and that's what he was all about. Or the Lone Ranger is like, we stand alone, we're going to do this thing by ourselves, we're going to solve the problem, and we'll take all of the credit and all of the rewards. But this social responsibility, this social working together seems to fit better with my soul. Okay, and that's why I like it so much. And I'm so pleased that you've taken the time to come out to talk to us about your experience in Senegal. And a lot of us came from West Africa, not necessarily because we wanted to. Some came because they wanted to. There were free blacks here in the U.S., but most of us came in a ship some way as a slave. Now, I don't want to talk about that bad part, but I had a gentleman on the program named Dave Thompson who's writing a book about the civil rights, the cooperative influence on civil rights. And he was saying that what makes co-op so well is because the West Africans that came here brought this cooperative spirit. He talks about this already in the program. And that's why right now the Federation of Southern Cooperatives in Alabama, Mississippi, North Carolina, they're functioning well on farms because of this cooperative spirit, getting together to solve community problems. So can you continue telling us about your experience? Because
I always say cooperation it's a way of life in Africa. But, in West Africa, it's clear that, nobody can do it alone. So you need really to connect with other people to do it. When you go to Southern Africa, there is a concept, maybe you heard about it, of Ubuntu. Ubuntu in the Southern African culture means whatever affects you, affects me. You are me and I am you. And I take care of yourself and you take care of myself. That's the concept of Ubuntu, which is that was the basis of the reconciliation in South Africa, because it's based on, you are me and I am you.
Ubuntu. O-B-U-N-T.
U-B-U-N-T-U. Ubuntu. If you Google it, you'll see that the whole concept. And at the heart of cooperative, because cooperative is very human. very human. It's the basis is I care about you, and you care about me, and that's how we solve problems. We have the same need. Instead of trying to solve it by ourselves, let's join force. Let's do it together. And it's a totally natural way for Africans to solve problems. You will never see somebody just taking by himself just a problem that he can solve with others and try to do it by himself. Just like walk and say, hey, do we want to do something about this issue? But there's always a need at the basis. You can't form a cooperative without a need, right? And there is no need that can't be solved with the cooperative system. It's a totally organic and human process. These are the two key. Organic because it's totally natural. I feel something and you feel that thing. I look in your eyes and I know that you have the same issue. Say, hey, brother, let's sit down and talk about this. And they say, hey, look, I have a cousin over there who has the same problem. Well, let's call on him. We three, right?
Yeah.
And we discuss the issue, and you know some people who have and get together and see how can we have a collective action that's key to. Collective is very important. We do it together. Action is very important. It's not just about having the idea,
yes, right.
But you have to turn the idea into action by putting energy into it and commitment. That's how you move. Not just ideas, but turn it into action. That part of cooperative system, like you get the idea, but it's not enough. It's like put enough energy and commitment to turn it into action. You get your tool, your cooperative, and you get your operations going, and you get the responsibility of everybody. So that's how it's just like taking culture and tradition. And turn it into a tool, because development is based on your own culture. You cannot take other people's culture and develop yourself, right? You have to get back to your roots. If you don't have the roots, you won't have the wings.
Okay.
Right?
Without the roots, you don't have the wings.
Absolutely.
To fly.
Exactly. Or if you fly, you're going to crash. Right? So it's a cultural thing in Africa to be doing collective action, doing cooperative action. It's let's cooperate. Let's operate together. It's co-operate. So that's fully in line with, the African culture. And no wonder if they strengthened the cooperative movement, they brought it from, West Africa. It's totally normal and natural.
I kind of wish you could be in the studio with me today, because you could feel the love coming from Papa Sene. It is not only sort of like working together for anything else but to solve whatever need that there is to solve. Nothing to get individually. And again, that's why I like co-ops, because when people work in co-ops, the second principle is democratically member control. And that just says that everybody gets in. And when you vote on what's best for the group, not what's best for me or best for Papa Sene or best for the cousin, but what is best for the group. And that creates better decisions ongoingly. And when we talk about housing, we've just come out of the Great Recession of 2007 and 8, which was started because of a bad financing in the housing market. And what happened was lots of foreclosures, single family homes and condos, but you didn't have these foreclosures in the cooperative side. The housing co-ops did not have these foreclosures simply because when decisions were made, they were made for the best for the group. So that this bad financing of where interest rates would go up over time, they just weren't there. So coming out of a great research I was hoping to get someone to do was to look at the data to show that housing co-ops, voting democratically, voting to do things that's best for the group, only got financing that was best for the group, not any kind of thing. So they didn't get financing that after 5, 7, 10 years would go under and you'd have all of this foreclosures. Member economic participation. You've mentioned that 3 or 4 times. Mm-hmm. When you got the housing, people had to put up money. When you bought the buses, people had to put up money. Yep. And that could be smaller pieces of money. No one person perhaps could buy that big bus.
You don't need big money to start a cooperative.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of cooperative. You decide on how much money you want to put together, right? Even if you have a goal that is, very important, very big for the long term, start small. That's beautiful. Start small. Start with what people can afford. Start with what people have in their pockets. And then you move. Because the more you solve the problems, the more people get more money in their pocket, and the more they will keep contributing to the cooperative. And that, it's an organic process. It's a totally organic process. There is nothing like, system, because cooperative is a people-centered organization. It's not mechanic. It's fully organic. It comes from the mind and the heart of the people. You feel that there is a need to solve problem. You see people who have the same need, and you get together. So there is a lot of both commitment and engage, strong belief that you and I and other people can get together and solve it. That's the basis. You have to believe deeply in people.
Yes.
Not in systems. Systems, people handle systems, but it's not the other way.
Right. So totally agree.
So, right. Mm-hmm.
The fourth principle of this modern co-op is autonomy and independence. And I like this one, and it really means that the people that start it, the people that are in the co-op, they're the ones that have to run it. They have to make the decisions, and not people from the outside.
They own it, exactly. And especially not being handled by any other group, it be politician or whatever, right? So that's very important, to be autonomous, right? Mm-hmm. We are a group want to solve our problem, but we totally independent from other group. We can work together,
yes,
right? We can dialogue, we can exchange ideas, but we are we, right? And you are you. So it's like we can cooperate, but you won't get in our decision-making process.
So your housing co-op, the people that live in that housing co-op, that own that housing co-op, that use the services, those are the ones that have to make the decision.
Make decision because they know better than anybody what needs to be done in that cooperative. They know what is good for themselves.
And can you understand why I love this cooperative model so much, everybody out there in this audience, and we really encourage you to continue to learn about this cooperative model. If you have a need in your community, it's banding together, get a group of people together to form a co-op, and there's like NCBA. You can reach out to them on www.ncb.coop. That's ncb.ncba.coop to get information about how to start a cooperative. If you would like to ask Papa Sene a question, please call in at 1-800-450-7876. There are 3 other principles that which we'll talk about as soon as we come back from break. And I really, Papa Sene, we only have another 15 minutes. Time is almost gone. And I really want to get to some of the other work that he's been doing around the world in the next 15 minutes. So we'll be right back. Please don't touch that dial. We're going to come back and talk to you about education, cooperation among co-ops, and concern for communities, which is the next 3 principles, and talk about the rest of the things that's happening in the world that Papa Sene has been doing for cooperatives. Don't touch the dial.
News updates on the web at WOLDCnews.com.
Welcome back. This is Vernon Oaks with Everything Cooperatives, and we have the great honor to have Papa Sene in the studio with us this morning from Senegal, who is here to accept last evening the honor of being inducted into the Cooperative Hall of Fame from all of the work that he's done. And we only have 15 minutes, so we're going to get right into what Papa Sene said yesterday was his most favorite principle is number 5. Why is number 5 your most favorite principle?
Because, you said it, information is power.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
And the 5th principle is about education, training, and information.
Yep.
Right?
Right.
And there is nothing you can do if you don't have the right information. Right?
Right.
Because
right.
there is a link between, you have choice, like you get an information. It's say on the top of your head,
right?
That information. You have 2 possibilities. You use it and it transform, right? Form is shape. Transform is to go out of the shape, the older shape. It transform, right?
All right.
The other position is to conform. If you get the information, you can easier use it to conform, meaning you don't use it, you just stay within the form, within the shape, right? Or use it to transform, to get out of the shape, because you're not happy about the shape. So that's the power of information, but it's up to you to use it. You can use it to conform, meaning I'm just sitting, I'm not doing anything with it, or you can use it to transform. And that's the power that you have, to transform your world using information. And you do it through education. Education is like acquiring the skills, because if you want to transform, you have to make a decision. I'm going to transform my life.
Yes.
Okay? That's the willingness to do it, but you need skills, and then you get it through education. So you get the tools and the ability, the capacity to do something to transform your life. So that I like, and without this principle, you cannot have the other principles.
You can't do it.
It support all the other principles. It support democracy. Democracy is basically equal access to information, right? That's basic. Equal access to any service, like loan service, right? If you can have access, I can have. That's not democratic, right? Democracy is everybody have access to product, services, information that you need. Decision making, voting is making a decision, right? If we have access to decision making, we can all vote and be part of the decision making process. So education, information, and training that's for me the heart of the entire process to transform people's lives. And that's why I like that principle. It sustains all the other principles. And I'm a trainer by nature.
Okay.
I do, and my commitment, the major commitment of my life is to train young Africans to understand cooperative and use it to take action to improve their lives. That's my strongest commitment.
We have some very similarities, because I've taught 12 years of my life, and that's the most fun I've had in life is in a classroom teaching and watching the light come on when they get it, when they get the knowledge, when they get the information. But I have decided that for the rest of my life, however long I'm here, I'm going to promote this cooperative model, which means getting people the information about it so that they can come to training classes and learn about it and then solve whatever problems. Just number 6 and 7 very quickly is just cooperation among cooperatives. We get more and more cooperatives working together. In a cooperation, which we've already talked about a number of times, is concern for the community. They started because there's a need in the community, so it's already concerned. And then when you look around, you find other needs and you solve those needs, whether it's education, transportation, to stop crime, whatever the problem is in the community, you end up solving that problem. But I really want to get to, because we only have a few minutes left, what are some of the things you went from the small village of 252 to Dakar, and then you've been around the world training?
Yep.
How did you do this, and what are some of the things you've been able to do?
Yeah. So I moved from my village, and I get into the suburb of Dakar, and discover cooperative as a means to solve problems. And later on, I went back to school to learn about cooperatives.
Okay.
Like to deepen my understanding and my skills on cooperative. And I was teaching at the cooperative college, right? But in the meantime, because I was becoming increasingly knowledgeable in the cooperative world, I started doing consultancy work in different African countries.
So you became a consultant. You're a teacher and consultant.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And then a designing project, cooperative project. And I designed a project that was back in 84 for the National Business Cooperative Association, for CLUSA. And they asked me to be what they call the chief of party, to be the director for that project that was in Niger. And that's how I started. But it was supposed to be a 2-year contract because I didn't want to abandon my teaching job. Because I got into that project and that contract to get more material for my teaching. It lasted 30 years.
30. Okay. 2 to 30.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. Because by training people, it was not teaching at the college, but teaching because the school for people who want to be understanding cooperative is the cooperative is a school by itself. Right? Okay. It's a school by itself. So there is no need to get into any other school because the school right there, even having a cooperative meeting, you can learn a lot. You learn about leadership, you learn about decision making, you learn about listening skills, which is very important in the cooperative movement, right? Mm-hmm. So just being in the cooperative and following the normal activities is just a great learning opportunity for whoever is in the cooperative system. And that's how I train people, by just getting them to say, okay, become a member.
You're basically doing adult education.
Absolutely. Every single thing that you attend in the cooperative system is a way to get more knowledge.
So you've been doing this for 30 years. One project, 2 years. So they talk about the NCBA CLUSA model, and they say that you represent that model.
Absolutely. Yes.
What is that model?
The model is based on basic principles that people have the right to make all the decision that is linked to solving their own problems. You cannot have anybody coming in and tell you what you have to do to solve your own. It's a very decentralized decision-making process whereby people take the decision and the action to solve the problem and improve on their life. And so not leave it to anybody.
Whatever community it is, whatever community there exists, the people in that community identifies the problems, and they not only should, but they have the right and the responsibility to solve that problem. They can create a cooperative and then solve that problem and not have somebody else from the outside come in and tell them how to solve that problem.
Absolutely.
That's the model.
That's the model. That's the model. And within that model, you have things like having the wisdom to never do at a high level anything that you can do at a lower level.
Okay. Wisdom.
Right?
That's wisdom.
Basic wisdom. Like, if you want to train people who are in a village, don't take them to town. Do the training right there in the village. It's cost effective, right? Mm-hmm. People are in the same environment. They become more available to you. But if you move them from the village to another village to bring other people, it might not be as effective as you did it in the village. But you have to have time. You have to have the patience to do things where the people are. And they are adult. They're not learning for the future. They are learning for
right now.
Absolutely.
Right now.
Here and now. Right now. Issues, problems that they face.
So you need wisdom and patience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The heart of the cooperative model is wisdom. In French, they say, la coopérative est la fille de la nécessité, which means the cooperative is the daughter of necessity. Do you have that word in English? Of a need.
Of a need.
Put it that way. Yes.
Okay.
It's the daughter of a need, It's if you have a need, use a cooperative. But if there is no need, you can't have a cooperative. It's basic wisdom.
So in these 30 years, where all have you gone and traveled? In Africa or just in other countries?
A lot of. I have been living outside Africa. I've had my own country, Senegal, for the past 30 years. In Ghana, in Burkina Faso, in Cote d'Ivoire, in Mali, in Zimbabwe, in South Africa, covering many African countries. But also working with people in Latin America, because using the cooperative model, we're able to develop real innovative ways of using the cooperative principle, like applying the cooperative to civil society organization, like using the cooperative model and take it as a governance tool, right? Or using the cooperative model to solve environmental problems, managing forests for the first time using a cooperative model. So we're able to develop those things in Africa and even go to Central America and teach it to people. How can you preserve and manage a forest using the cooperative model that we developed in Niger, which is in West Africa?
You develop it in West Africa?
Absolutely.
You take it to Brazil?
And that's what the World Bank is using currently.
Did you take it to Brazil to manage the forest?
Yes, yes. We took it to Nicaragua, we took it to El Salvador, we took it to Brazil, we took it to... The World Bank is taking it all over the world. And it was developed basically in Niger in our project. Another thing that we did is, how can you empower local civil society to talk to the central government in a very effective way using the cooperative? We developed it in Ghana, right?
Yeah.
And now, other countries are using it, taking the Ghanaians that we train and say, hey, come and teach us how were you able to use the 7 principles to foster and empower local civil society. And I'm talking about, just normal citizens.
Yes. We're talking about normal, everyday people.
Carpenters Association, Farmers Association, Women Association, very powerful. In Ghana, we had the Queen Mothers Association.
The what? Queen Mother?
Queen Mothers. These are rulers, traditional rulers, women. They are part of the traditional African government system is embedded into a process whereby the women are the center of all the decisions that you make. Absolutely. The most powerful association in Ghana is the Queen Mothers Association. Just women, but traditional rulers. They used to advise kings. A king can't make a decision without that association.
Okay. Well, that explains why a lot of African American women want to be in charge.
Absolutely.
I mean, out of that backdrop.
Yep.
I told you this was going to go by very fast, sir. We're already up. And I would love to have another hour with you to talk about some of the things that you've done around the world, that you've had the pleasure and the world has had the pleasure of your knowledge and your cooperative spirit, the love that you have for people that just absolutely shows, the amount of benefits that each community has had. We're sorry that it's over. We've got to go. Please come back to us next week, and we really want to thank Papa Sene for being with here and for NCB for sponsoring this program. Have a wonderful day. This is Vernon Oaks signing off.